Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be diving into Monk this season, explaining how to farm, how to push the leaderboards, and all that. And joining me is going to be Yawreth, who is a teammate of mine in Clan NCG, who was number one as of last night, but I think now he's number three or so. And, we're trying to keep this video at a reasonable length. So if we miss a detail or something that you have a question about, just feel free to, drop it down in the comments and I will do my best to answer it for you. So let's get into it. Alrighty, I'm joined by the current number three monk on the hardcore seasonal leaderboard. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yawreth. Yeah, I've been playing since forever, hardcore.
Cool. And your clear was number one like last night or something, and then it just got overtaken, right?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to retake it yet.
Cool. Okay. So first off, kind of how long have you been playing, and how did last season go for you, and all that sort of stuff.
I've been playing Monk as my main class for probably 4 or 5 seasons. Um, Started off on Demon Hunter, went to Wizard, and then Monk's just played a more vital role in groups, so I switched to Monk. Uh, Season's going good. Monk is beast this season. It's so ridiculously strong for farming.
Hmm.
In fact, a lot of the other classes are switching to Monk because it's so strong. Um, most of my farming runs end up being 3 leeches and me just killing everything because they just can't keep up. Um, so everybody's like, "Oh my god, that's so fast! I just need to make a monk for farming." So
Okay.
that's awesome. That's the first time that's ever been the case. Um,
So did you play monk because you love it, or because it was going to be a really good farmer, etc.?
I played monk the last few seasons because it's always one of the support roles in XP and in high-end content.
Okay.
And usually at the start of a season, it kind of sucks because Monk has never been a strong farming class. But if you have a support early season, then you can get into the really high XP groups right away because you already have a support set up and ready to go.
Hmm. What
Yeah.
like my leaderboard currently, it looks like 106 is number one. What do you think it'll finish at? Like 110, 112? Like what do you think will win the season?
106 feels pretty easy right now. Like it's going to take quite a few keys. I mean, you still have to get a good rift, but I would say 111, 112 in hardcore will probably take number one.
Okay, cool.
Because you add on another 1500 Paragon, you're going to be so much stronger.
Hmm. I think it's about what, like 7% damage for every like 500 Paragon, something like that.
I don't know. I just put it in Dex and it does a lot of good shit.
Yeah. And if you're curious, I'm gonna show his run that was number one last night at the end, so you'll be able to see that run in full. I've got a recording of it. But I guess first, what I want to get into is what is the best builds for each specific thing, like regular riffs, bounties, and speed GRs. Like, do you have three different builds that you're using, and kind of explain? I guess first we'll just start with regular riffs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're gonna have the 6 piece Thunwuko, well, 5 pieces and the Rourg and the Cube. And for regular riffs, you can do pretty much anything with the belt. I use the Kirishira's Soul because I don't have to worry about keeping my sweeping wind stacks up, which is all of your damage. It's 1,000% per stack, and so you just hit sweeping wind once at the beginning of the rift, and the belt automatically keeps it up for you. So it's like just super lazy.
Hmm.
It doesn't do the most damage. It doesn't. A gold wrap would be better for defense, like if you're proccing. Witching hour would be more damage, but this is just like you do so much damage anyway that I just use this because it's easy. For regular riffs, I also use the Avarice Band just because I don't like picking up globes. So you can just kill an elite and pick up the Death Breaths and run past it, and the globes will just automatically pick up.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
average
and it
span is
just
awesome.
makes the run so much faster. And then a Firestone of Jordan is obviously helpful too.
Okay.
And Ingium,
Hmm.
so that you have infinite teleport. You just zip around
Yeah.
or
So
infinite dashes.
okay, that all makes sense. Now, is there a sage variation that you can throw in there with this?
Yep, yep. You can throw the only difference that it makes is you lose the 150% wave of light damage off the helm, and you lose the crudest boots. But it the wave of light just will emanate from your body as opposed to on your target
Hmm.
without the helm. But it's still really strong. So you can farm sages really easy. Just swap out the helm and the boots, and it'll still do T13 no problem.
And it looks like so for the passives, if you were playing on softcore, would you run without the near death experience and swap that out for something else?
Yeah, you could. You could go with any number of different things, but um, let me look at what I would actually pick. Exalted Soul might be good. Transcendence. I mean, their Unity probably would give you a little more damage.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, you could pick anything you wanted on softcore, and it would be viable. I'm sure guys run without it.
And then the mantra, there's a little bit of leeway there. You don't have to use agility, right? Is there what would be an option besides that possibly?
Transgression is good on Mantra of Retribution, and Mantra of Conviction you can use Overawe for some more damage.
Okay.
Most people use Gold Wrap when they're farming, and then they switch to those damage mantras. The only difference is then you just have to keep up your sweeping wind stacks if you go on a map like a long hallway that doesn't have mobs or whatever.
Hmm.
Watch to make sure that if that drops, you need to refresh it. Otherwise, you'll do no damage.
Hmm. So it looks like the build revolves around sweeping wind and fire wave of light, and you just kind of teleport around and wave of light everything.
Yeah, yeah, one shot everything.
Cool. Okay. And do you make changes when you go to do bounties, or is it kind of the same concept?
Pretty much the same concept. Um, yeah, yeah. In fact, I would just use this exact setup for bounties. The only thing with this build is you have to stop and kill elites so that you can keep your Ingiam up. That way you can move fast. But it's
Hmm.
so quick that it doesn't really slow you down that much.
Well, that's kind of handy. So you can use the exact same thing for regular rift or bounty. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then,
go ahead. Sorry.
and if you were done with that, for GRs are the only thing I switch is to Convention of Elements instead of Avarice Band since there's no gold to pick up.
Hmm.
Yeah, everything else is identical.
So everything else is exactly the same. The skills, the passives. You literally just switch convention of elements instead of avarice band.
Yep, that's it.
And it looks like the gems are Zays, trapped, and powerful. Okay. So with the Zays, you don't really want to get melee with them. You want to kind of keep just a little bit of distance.
Yep, yep. As far away from it as you possibly can. In fact, if you just barely can't see it on your screen, that's perfect.
So then what's procking the Bane of the Trapped if you're that far away?
Your wave slows things.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, on the bracer passive, wave of light also slows the enemy by 80% and increases the damage by 150% on
Cool.
the Pinto's Pride.
And for groups, what's like I know like the number one farming group is the rat runs with the three necros and the barbarian. Does monk have a place that can compete with something close to that in groups?
No,
No?
nothing can compete with that.
With
Uh,
the four man rat runs?
yeah, no, it's ridiculously strong, and whether you want to call it pay to win from Blizzard side of things and they want people to buy the Necros or whatever, but there's nothing that can compete with it in terms of speed of XP.
So do you have a character? It looks like you built a character for rat runs. You have a ZDPS and a DPS necro.
Yep. Yep. And I have a Z Barb as well.
So your general like kind of play style this season is you use your monk for like farming keys and farming bounties, but then when it comes to getting those paragon levels, you made sure and you built yourself the characters you would need to participate in those rat runs.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to if you want to push your Paragon higher.
Gotcha.
I
Cool.
mean, there's just no other way to do it, you know. And in fact, I go every season. I go so far as I make every single character for every single position in the experience runs. That way, if I've got 3 people and one of them doesn't have a Z-Barb, I can just fill that spot. Or one of them doesn't have a DPS Rathma, I can fill that spot.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. And going back to pushing for number 1 on the leaderboard, if you want to load that build up for me on your hero. So
There you go.
we swap out the Ingium, we get the Kayashiro Blade and the Vengeful Wind, and then I'll let you go ahead and explain this.
Yeah, you're going to want Unity, and then Unity on your follower with the Cannot Die token, and the Obsidian of the Zodiac, and the Witching Hour. And the reason that you do the Obsidian of the Zodiac is because now you don't have Ingium, and your cooldown on Epiphany is not going to be back up to have 100% uptime on Epiphany.
Hmm.
And that's 50% less damage taken.
Hmm.
So in the really high content, because you're dragging like 5 and 6, 7 packs sometimes, and it gets really sketchy. So to lose that, even for a split second, would mean you're going to proc. So you need 100% uptime on that, and build your CDR around that uptime. So as you're playing and you find that you're constantly attacking with your bell, but your Epiphany has like a 2-second gap in it where it's not up,
Hmm.
you need to fix that. You need to get more CDR if you want to push really, really high with it.
Do you know about what that percentage is, like what the CDR goal is?
Right now, I'm sitting at 54%, 54.35%, and it's perfect. Um, I could not lose even one CDR and be comfortable in a 106.
So the goal is 54 to 55%, somewhere in there.
You could go higher, but I wouldn't go lower than.
Okay.
I've optimized it to the point where if I lost another, because I want to have max damage, right?
Hmm.
So I don't have CDR on my weapons, but I have it on my gloves, my shoulders, and both rings,
Hmm.
and a diamond in the helm. And that seems to me, for my playstyle, perfect. Because if I'm attacking the entire time, my Epiphany comes up at the exact moment that it's going to drop,
Hmm.
and I still get maximum damage.
Now for a softcore player, do you have a suggestion instead of near death experience, or is that something that you should use even in softcore just to help you get through that tough level of GR?
You should use it even in softcore, because you're going to be in softcore. You're not going to be using esoteric. You're going to be using Zeiss, and you are going to proc and die a lot. It just is. I've watched Yoda's top clears, rank 1 clears, and he dies between 5 and 10 times every rift.
Hmm.
And so without that proc, you're wasting so much time in the death screen, and you're just not going to get high end clears
Hmm.
without it.
Is there a certain type of level and mob type that you're looking for or looking to avoid when you open up a rift?
Absolutely. There's a lot of mob types when you get the very top end of things, of what your character can actually do. If assuming that you're playing it perfectly, or at least close to perfectly, you can't play. I've found that you can't play red overlords. They just don't give enough progression. Um, you want big open maps. If I open a cave map, I instantly leave, even if it's the perfect mob type for me. I can't. There's no way to get enough progression on a closed map. So you want festering woods. You want greater spires. You want what's the old GG one? Square craters, but they don't have squares anymore. That can be good. I haven't had a lot of luck with it, but it's nice and wide and open, um, and then you want the more mobs, the better. So I won't go into all the specific mobs. That would take long, but you want lots and lots and lots of mobs. I've found that anything that involves bees, which sounds ridiculous, but if the mob type has bees in it, you'll do good with it. Um, Avoid succubus oppressor, and avoid bogan trapper. Don't even go into it. I've tried many times, and I've procced in the first room every single time I've tried it.
The bogan
So you,
trappers are the ones that throw the traps at you.
yep. And there's so many bogans on the screen that you can't predict which ones are going to charge you, and one charge will proc you. So it's just really stupid to try to play that mob type with this build.
Cool. And is there like anything general that you're focusing on while you're in that tough rift, that 105, 106 type rift?
Yeah. So what I do is I set up on pretty much on the first pack, unless it's too deep. Like if I see there's 10% or a huge amount of mobs around me, but there's no pack, I might take some time and whittle that down a little bit, especially if I see that there's like a little corridor coming up that I have to funnel all of these mobs through to get them to follow me. And I need to thin that out in order for them to come with me. And what you're doing is basically you're focusing on elite packs, but you're not trying to just sit and kill them. You want to drag them along with you and then DPS behind as you move forward through the rift, but you want to keep a constant forward momentum going.
Hmm.
And then what you're hoping for is you either hit a power or a conduit, and you'll be able to kill all 5, 6, 7 of those packs. And if you don't, you'll at least kill the blues, and you might even get a yellow or two along the way that you kill just from DPSing the whites as you move through the rift. And
Okay.
that strategy requires huge maps, huge open maps with lots of mobs in it.
And then as you get to the end of the GR, is there a Rift Guardian that spawns and you say, screw it, I'm out? Or are they all beatable?
They're all beatable. Some
Okay.
of them are obviously going to be trickier. Cold Snap would probably be the most dangerous, um, just because he can charge you and proc you. And then when you try to get away, he can charge you and kill you. So if you're going to avoid one, I'd probably say Cold Snap.
Okay. Cool.
But most of them are pretty manageable, and the build is pretty tough. So like you can take quite a few hits in a 106 and not worry too much about it. Just you have to watch out for bull charges, the executioner overhead, whatever that slam they do will proc you. Um, but other than that, the big hits you can take quite a bit of damage.
Have you died yet this season?
No,
Wow, that's that's really good at 1600 Paragon.
I'm pretty careful. Uh, Deaths just waste a lot of time.
Yeah, it's so much time to re-augment all that gear.
Yep.
Cool. Well, and then I thought you had mentioned something about your Templar when you're playing in the Rift. Do you want to just go over that real quick?
Oh yeah. So as you're pulling mobs along, your Templar is going to stay behind you, and it's going to clog up the monsters. So if you look on your mini map, you'll see like there's 4 mobs that you want to come with you, and they're not coming. It's because your Templar is back there fighting them. So you need to run ahead a little bit, and then the Templar will port to you automatically once you get out of range of it. And
Hmm.
when you see it fighting next to you, then you can go back but make sure you don't go back so far that he ports again back to those original mobs. And then those mobs will come forward with you. And you just leash back and forth just like that as you go through the rift.
Okay, cool. Well, as we wrap it up here, I wanted to get your opinion on. I think you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but if somebody were like new to Diablo, would you say Monk is one of the strongest classes right now, or are there
It is by far the strongest class. There's nothing even close.
like in terms of farming and all that type of stuff?
In terms of early, if you're new to the game, in terms of early game content, Monk is there's nothing is even people can't even keep up with me in rifts. It's just ridiculous. Once you get the 6 piece and all the pieces put together, it's so strong. So this season, at least, every other season before this, I would recommend other characters, but this season, it's by far the strongest.
Cool. Okay. Well, is there anything else you wanted to add or tell us about your stream, where we can find that or anything?
Yeah, I only stream when I'm pushing, or pretty much only when I'm pushing. So it's not like a regular thing that you can hit, but it's just twitch.com/Yawreth. And yeah, check it out. If you follow me, then you can catch me when I'm trying to push stuff.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out with me and giving me a little bit of insight on Monk. And take it easy. Have a good day, man.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
All right, see ya. Alrighty, that concludes the discussion part of the video with Yawreth. And if you want to see his actual run, where he did last night to push #1 hardcore seasonal with Monk, I'm going to play a recording of that coming up here in a second. There's no sound with the video. His stream removed the sound, so he must have been listening to music or something while he was doing it. So there's no sound with it, and that's why. But yeah, if you want to see that, it's coming right up. Alrighty, that concludes the video, Monk 101, featuring Yawreth, and a big shout out to him for joining me and helping me out with this. I will leave a link in the description to his stream if you want to check him out and see when he's pushing for number one on the leaderboard. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Peace.